hello and welcome to the Sunday Club. I know we're late. No, we're not a late show. We're literally like a minute late, and you all have started again. We're right on time and we're ready to go. It's been a busy Sunday, as you can all tell from the news. Aryan Khan, son of superstar Shah Rukh Khan, has been arrested in a drugs possession consumption case. Still not clear what it's for, but as of now, as we speak, he is in court, being presented in court, and I suppose NCB will ask for his custody. And subsequently, we'll see what happens and how this case progresses. And I'd like to also introduce you to the next subject. We're going to be talking about the Congress in light of what's been happening over the past few weeks. And Captain Amrinder Singh having left the party. On the other hand, you have Chief Minister Baghel's MLAs who support him camping in Delhi. So I think some exciting times as going forward. So here we go. Let's start. Let me welcome Professor Dipankar Sengupta. Just to add that Abhijit is not coming in today. He had to cancel at the last minute. So I apologize to you all. And Tanvi Singh Aroor is, of course, joining us again. And there we have it. There is Shehzad Poonawalla, right on time.
नमस्कार, आवाज आ रही है मेरी?
बिल्कुल, बहुत अच्छी आ रही। मेरी आवाज आ रही है?
आपकी आवाज बड़ी धीमे आ रही है।
Thank God, because I always get complaints about my voice. So that's a good thing, Shehzad. Trust me.
Am I the only one who can't hear Advaita properly?
No, everyone can hear me.
Probably you're the only one.
Okay, yeah, people are saying my voice is perfect today, so I'm very happy. Shehzad, you'll have to suffer. One suffering as opposed to hundreds is a small compromise. But Shehzad, we're starting with really what's happening in Mumbai and what's happened with Aryan Khan.
Listen. No, I just think that let the law take its own course, because frankly I'm not in a position to say anything one way or the other. But I do feel that at 23 I was going to the gym, I was living a healthy lifestyle, I was not taking steroids, and I think that's what all young people should be doing. They should be spending their time on much more constructive activities. Having said that, I think whoever's son or child you are, or you're an adult at 23, you're not a child, you're not a young boy, you're a man. And if you have done something, you have to face up to the consequences of your actions, and you have to take responsibility for it, and let the law of the country, which is equal for anybody and everybody, take its course.
Right. Tableen, you're a mom, and what do you make of this? This has to be devastating for the parents, right? To have their son kind of hauled up like this and questioned.
Absolutely. In fact, but I agree with what Shehzad has said, that this is a very, very, dangerous trend that we are seeing in the recent past, as far as, Bombay and the whole so-called drug scene is concerned with youngsters. And it's better that, we don't talk about it that much until the legality and, what really comes out. But as far as, the Bombay culture is concerned, and the whole setup as in terms of youngsters, I think this generation needs it's a scary world. It's difficult for this generation, given the fact that everything is on your fingertips. So and the fact that everything it's very easily available. So it's not only the kids, it's a responsibility of a lot of a full number line and chain that goes into what is happening and what we are seeing. But I would say just one thing, that when this story came out, there was a lot of backlash on media saying that you're only covering it because it's Shah Rukh Khan's son. But I feel that there is a sense that if a star's son is seen, there is some kind of message sent that nobody can be allowed to do whatever they want, given your profile. So let law take its own course, but let's see what happens in this case.
No, I just have a different view, Professor. I just feel that if it's consumption, you shouldn't be arrested. I mean, I know a lot of people not agree with me, but I frankly feel that way,
Well,
because
Advaita, the law as
yeah.
it stands doesn't make that distinction. So I think we need to bow down to the majesty of the law, and we can't choose the manner in which the law is applied based on the case. So just because he happens to be a Khan doesn't mean that we have a
Hmm.
Yeah.
sympathetic view on the application of the law.
No, I agree. I agree with you. I mean, it's just I think the law does need to change in this case. That's my own
That's a larger
personal.
conversation we can have
Yeah.
going forward.
Hmm.
Look, the law is being applied. Let us not talk too much about it. I'm loath to talk about these particular cases anyway.
Yeah.
The thing is, to make this a point of discussion, because the person in this case involved happens to be famous or some son of somebody famous, doesn't really make sense. Because one way or the other, I see either these discussions end in vilification or they
Hmm.
end in some sort of normalization. Pointless to have this discussion. There is a law.
Hmm.
It's been framed for everybody. Somebody has been foolish enough to get caught in this. The law will take its course. And we know what will happen in the end. It's known to us. So I think let's leave it at that and let matters proceed as they would actually.
Okay, so we leave it at that and we let the law take its course. And I mean, I always find it sad when somebody young has to then fill out all those forms in times to come and saying, "Have you ever been arrested?" and say yes, yes, and you just feel like, why?
I think younger people in this country are facing a far more difficult time than somebody who's got arrested for possession of
Correct. Yeah.
drugs by the
Yeah,
NCB. So
yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry to disagree with you, Advaita. The
No, you
challenges
can,
that
you can.
millions of youngsters face is not comparable to the challenge of
Hmm.
somebody who's being represented by Satish Manchinde in court
No,
as we speak.
that's one guy. But I mean, in general, I mean, anyway, we're not supposed to talk about this, but I can't help it. But in general, the fact that you get arrested for, but
I
anyway,
agree.
like you're right. So let's move on to the Congress and what's happening there. And really, it's interesting. This past week has been very tumultuous for the Grand Old Party, and there have been a lot of ups and downs. And subsequently, you've had big leaders like Captain Amrinder Singh walking out, Kapil Sibal doing a press conference wherein he's attacked by Congress workers after that. Shehzad, you were part of the Congress at one point of time. Seems like a long time ago now, but you've faced your own share of harassment from by having divergent views. You've been threatened. You've been blacklisted on certain channels where they don't want to come on board with you. So you're not surprised. But did you ever think this would touch the eminent Congress? The senior kind of union ministers and people like that.
Uh, Absolutely. I always knew it would lead to this, and I don't want to make it a I told you so moment. पर सच्चाई तो ये है कि 2017 से कांग्रेस के जो आंतरिक लोकतंत्र का सबसे बड़ा भुक्तभोगी तो मैं ही हूँ। मतलब परिवार तंत्र को ऑपरेट करते हुए जिस तरीके से मैंने देखा है कांग्रेस में, और फिर उसके बाद जब मैंने आवाज़ उठाई थी, तो आज जो कई सारे किरदार जो आज निकल रहे हैं पार्टी से, उस समय तो उन्होंने मेरी बातों पर समर्थन नहीं दिया था, परंतु आज वो खुद इसके भुक्तभोगी बन रहे, तो उनको समझ में आ रहा है। पर सवाल ये है अद्वैता कि कांग्रेस आई मीन एक तरीके से जो देखा जाए तो कांग्रेस इज ऑन अ मिशन टू सेल्फ डिस्ट्रक्ट एंड लुक एट व्हाट दे हैव बीन डूइंग, whether it is Chhattisgarh, where you now have Mr. Baghel and Mr. Deo fighting. They might not acknowledge it on camera, but there is definitely a sense of unease, and Rahul Gandhi has made a promise to Mr. Dev that after 2.5 years you will get to run the state, and that he is not being able to implement or fulfill because Mr. Baghel, every time they propose this, he brings a whole bunch of MLAs to Delhi and does the Shakti Pradarshan. You have the same situation in Rajasthan where you have Mr. Ashok Gehlot and Sachin Pilot fighting, and you saw what turn it took earlier. And even now, the attempt has been to actually accommodate Sachin Pilot in a greater way, but that's also not seeming possible. Ashok Gehlot's already said to people that ये पंजाब नहीं है, ये राजस्थान है. Similarly, Baghel's also said ये छत्तीसगढ़ है, ये पंजाब नहीं है. Now, what did they do in Punjab? In Punjab, you had Captain Amrinder Singh. The problem the Gandhis have with Captain Amrinder Singh is that, or particularly Rahul and Priyanka, is that he had a stature where he did not require the Gandhis. He had his own standing. And Gandhis are inherently very insecure. They don't have too much talent. They are not vote catchers anymore. So because of that, anybody who comes with any amount of talent in the Congress party, the Congress party or the first family which is now reduced to the Congress party, मतलब पार्टी परिवार हुआ करती थी, अब परिवार ही पार्टी बन चुकी है. It naturally rejects and sidelines people with talent. So you see a whole range of leaders. After I went, you had Hemanta Biswa Sarma, you had Jyotiraditya Scindia, you have Jitin Prasad, you have Satpal Maharaj. You come from Uttarakhand, I believe, so you would know the entire range of Uttarakhand leadership has quit the Congress and moved on. You have Captain Amrinder Singh going. And who has the Congress acquired? They've acquired leaders like Kanhaiya Kumar and Jignesh Mewani, who don't really bring anything new to the Congress. Congress has already got that same vote bank of some Dalits, some Muslims whom they're catering to from the last 7 years. So there is nothing new Kanhaiya is adding. Kanhaiya is not bringing any new vote bank into the Congress fold. But instead of promoting your own in-house talent, you're so insecure of it that you cut the wings of those who are talented, those who can lead the party, and then you sideline them. And this is one of the reasons why Amrinder Singh was also sidelined. What was the need? I asked what was the need. Captain Amrinder Singh is almost touching 80. He would have contested this election, if at all, if he would have contested. He can't go. He couldn't have gone to the BJP. He couldn't have gone to the Akali Dal. He couldn't have gone to the Aam Aadmi Party. You could have given him a graceful exit, but you did not even give him a graceful exit. And that is taking the humiliation way too far. And I think, in a way, I mean, just on a lighter note, Rahul Gandhi is a true follower of Mahatma Gandhi, because Mahatma Gandhi once said Congress party should be done and done away with. And I think Rahul Gandhi has taken that quite seriously, even if he's not following the other principles of Mahatma. At least on this particular principle, it seems he's hell-bent to make the Mahatma, live his dream.
Tavleen, I wanted to ask you this. There was a news report the other day which said that, Bhupesh Singh Baghel is going to be the UP in charge. And, and then there was this spin that was done by some journalists that, this goes to show how close he is to Priyanka Gandhi. And, this is like augurs really well for him, etc., etc. Do you think even congressmen really care about that proximity to the Gandhis? Would a sitting chief minister, although he said, I'll go with what the high command does, but do you think they really care about that kind of stuff now anymore?
I think the larger picture and the bigger point here is that no matter what we discuss, no matter how many changes happen, one thing is clear, that Gandhis in the Congress party are not going anywhere. No matter how much they say that, it's a democracy and we are not, like, he's not the president right now, right? And so it's like authority without accountability. And that's something that is ailing the Congress party a lot. But I had read, I think, in fact, today only I was reading a book, and there was a chapter where on how Rahul Gandhi and what he had thought as far as bringing the Congress together was that one is that you need that drive to be in power, and the only thing that can have Congress strong and come back as far as their defeat in 2019 and 2014 is concerned are two things. One, that Gandhis take charge like in a real way, and the drive to really, really be in power. As Shehzad said, that the problem, one of the biggest problem is that we've seen one completely fail, which is their will to get votes. The both of them, there was the whole hullabaloo on how Priyanka Gandhi is the one, she's the, that wand that will turn everything around as far as Congress is concerned. But the fact of the matter is, she has been tried in UP, and you've seen the results. What has happened, however much they've been trying to work. But Advaita, I very, very strongly feel that we have to understand that in our lifetimes we are not going to see anyone taking the reins apart from a Gandhi name in the Congress party. Okay, so I think for them, if they really need to, make sure that they need to stay in the game, I think they should go into a kind of corporate setup in terms of getting someone ruthless, who can have a complete overhaul of the party, who is only laser focused on getting votes, on understanding what the ground reality is, on connecting with the workers. The problem is there's such a gap. There are so many groups in the Congress party, which, if you remember long back before Modi was in power and Modi came. As far as BJP is concerned, even BJP was accused of that. There is one Jaitley group, there is one Sushma Swaraj group, and there is then that Advani whole angle of Advani. So that completely has gone. There's one boss. Even in your last show, I told you that the biggest problem with Congress party is the missing of that iron fist, which they don't have. And right now, we've seen, what has happened in Punjab, as you rightly said. Even in, Chhattisgarh, big problem is going to happen. UP, look at UP. UP elections are around the corner, and what is the preparation? I mean, you see both of them, the siblings, going for one odd case. They have enough meat, they have enough material to work and really, really take the government to task with. But what do? They do one episode, they take on one particular protest, and then the next day there's news of them holidaying. That's not a politician. That's not what people want. So perception is everything in politics also. So I feel that the biggest thing that they need to do is maybe have a corporate kind of setup. Say that, okay, we are behind the scenes. I think that will serve well for the Congress party. Get someone who can really, really have a complete overhaul. Remember, even Prashant Kishore, if I'm sure all of was also told and given an open hand, and he refused. And he's the kind of a guy who is ready to take on a challenge, to do something that he.
Where is
Sorry?
nowadays? Where is Prashant Kishore nowadays?
Nobody knows. And
I'll tell you.
Shehzad
I'll
knows.
tell you.
And
He was busy while negotiating for a position for himself in the Congress, breaking Mr. Valerio and taking him to TMC. The man has some spine. I mean, this is what I've heard, that Mr. Valerio was poached by Prashant while the Congress was planning to accommodate him, I don't know, in the CWC, General Secretary, I don't know. And then after that, I believe the conversation has gone a little mute, as you can expect. It's like,
Yeah.
I mean, ghar ka bhedi lanka dhai.
But
And
Professor,
imagine someone like him. My God. No, I'm saying someone like Prashant Kishore who relishes on big challenges. He also has been like, nahi, nahi, thank you. So it's sad, and it's too late now. And I feel that it's bad for a country like us, because we need an opposition. Opposition is very important for a democratic country to function. So all hopes are on Congress, but I think only the smaller parties will somehow work together, and which obviously I feel even if they come together, they will not be able to do and take down the heavy machinery that we have as far as the current government is concerned.
Professor, we were chatting that day, Abhijit, you and I, and we started discussing the coup d'etat that can take place in the Congress. I mean, Tavleen thinks that we're going to see a Gandhi till the end of our years in power. But we were kind of speaking about how TMC and these other parties can chip away at the Congress and really take it over in states where it's organizationally weak. And congressmen will then feel comfortable going to the TMC, since Mamta is an ex-congressee.
Yeah.
And there is some kind of affinity.
Let me start with what Tavleen said. The Gandhis could adopt some sort of a corporate structure where they are chairman and you have a president, etc., who basically takes over the corporation and runs it, ruthless kind of a guy. I think the last time we saw that was from 91 to 96, when Sonia Gandhi did not want to take over the reins of the party and the government, and you had Narasimha Rao taking over. And let's face it, that was the 5 years that transformed India. I remember what India was. I was in Delhi in 91. The despondency that was there. And in 1996, although we had an unstable government, coalitions, etc., we were so full of confidence, given what had transpired in the 5 years, that nobody was bothered. But in those 5 years where we had economic liberalization, where we formalized our relationships with Israel, where we sowed our relations with Taiwan. We did so many things. We went from an underperforming economy to a globalized economy. That was the time that the family got insecure and then tried its best basically to ensure that Narasimha Rao was on his way out. They had grave objections to Narasimha Rao striking an alliance with the DMK in 96. And see, a few years later, the Sonia makes an alliance with the DMK. So this particular thing that is being talked about, going for a corporate structure, you see, you are insecure because the president who takes over and performs will be a threat to you as perceived by you. So that is not going to work with this particular family. Let's face it. It's not royalty where you reign and the prime minister rules. Here, everybody knows the rules of the game. Certainly the family does. And that's not going to happen, because if it happens, then the person who comes in will, in a sense, they will fear he'll take over the party. Now let's come back. I am not too sure about this business that in our lifetime we will not see a Gandhi-less Congress.
Could be
What's happening? What's happening actually in several states, we have a Gandhi-less Congress. West Bengal is a very good example of a Gandhi-less Congress. The TMC is Congress. Make no mistake. The lady is far more a congressman or a congresswoman than anybody else in the Congresses. Jagan's father, they were all in the Congress. They wanted to be accommodated. They were left out. So the Congress, YSR Congress, they can't let go of the name Congress. That Congress party is Congress without the family. NCP is a Congress without the family. And increasingly, a lot of people will come to realize this. Look, let us face this. The siblings may not strike a chord with the Congress worker, but the status of Sonia is somewhat different. It's somewhat different with the rank and file, but that has got to do with her being the widow of Rajiv Gandhi. Let's face this. Now, the thing is the following. As we discussed, if Mamta starts taking over the smaller units of the Congress, she's done a hit job on Tripura, that can be taken over. The Assam Congress is ripe, at least parts of it is ripe. The Goa Congress is ripe. And then, the small, see, we talked about G23, and many said that many of these G23 don't have a vote base. Actually, that depends. In the smaller states, they have influence. And they can basically turn that over to Mamta anytime if Mamta so chooses. Look, right now, Mamta is showing the appetite to come out of West Bengal. She's showing that appetite. Now, much of it, in my sense, is bravura. But the fact is, even if it is bravura, she doesn't know. She wants to come in. She is built that way. So she wants to come out. Sharad Pawar is basically trying to consolidate, hold on, has a problem, whether to accommodate, whether to promote the nephew or how to protect the interest of the daughter and so on. Jagan has remained where he is. He has not come out. So Jagan is much younger to Mamata, probably will not challenge Mamata at this point in time. Sharad Pawar is much older than Mamata and possibly sees that his power at coming to power at the center is probably gone. Now, if these persons were to align and then they were to look at other Congress parties, let us face it, we could have, I can think of a pathway, a trajectory where the bulk of the Congress is taken over without the necessary expulsions, which AIM talked about in the last thing. So what to do?
Bloodless coup.
A bloodless coup, a takeover basically. You give the family the respect, etc. As I said, a roadside shrine. The moment you pass by, you do pranam and pass it away. But they, in a sense, become irrelevant. That can happen. The Mamta takeover of the Congress in West Bengal.
I said Shehzad is smiling, probably rubbing his hands together.
No, I'm not rubbing my hands together. But the only analogy I can draw to what the professor is saying is Bahadur Shah Zafar, nominal, but his kingdom was extended to Palam, till Palam. So I think Bahadur Shah Zafar and Bahadur Shah Dafar.
No, exactly. I'll tell you why. Because today, the fiefdom of the family is Raebareli. Even Amethi is not safe any longer. Previously, you had UP's 80 seats, 85 seats, giving the family a fulcrum. UP Congress was completely beholden to, enthralled with the family. It is no longer so. And unless you have a very strong base, whenever the Peshwa was strong, the Maratha chieftains basically salam the Peshwa. The moment the Peshwa becomes weak, then the four Maratha chieftains become Maharajas in their own right. And this is exactly what is happening. Now, look, in some places, yes, Sonia Gandhi is highly regarded. But the fact remains, if respect, nominal respect is given to Bahadur Shah Zafar, I will say Zafar, not the other word, then the takeover will be complete and the Congress will go ahead. Now, the question is, this is a hypothetical situation. Of course, we know there are so many people in the Congress who have ambitions. In many cases, those are ambitions without the necessary power. But we are talking about Mamata Banerjee making a bid for it. Okay. Now, whether Prashant Kishore is planning it or not, by the way, in Bengal, the rumor is that Prashant Kishore is enlisted as a voter in Bhawanipur. So, I mean, he may have been trying
No,
to
it
do
is
many
true.
things.
It's true.
It's true. So he's probably registered as a voter in Bhawanipur. So Prashant Kishore is Prashantu Kishore now, full-fledged Bengali, not a Bihari at all. So he is no longer Bahiragato, he is Bengali now. Okay. That aside, if Mamata plans it out well, sequentially, whether she comes, she's actually a challenger in 2024 is not, is another matter. But yes, the Congress in a sense would have been taken over and it would be Congress without the Gandhis. We've had this, we've seen this before from 91 to 96 and the country ran very well. The country ran very well. The Congress also did very well. Remember in 1994, it came back to power in Rajasthan, it came back to power in Madhya Pradesh, it came back to power in Himachal Pradesh. Of course, it lost UP completely after that, but nonetheless, it came back. So all this talk about Sonia being integral to the Congress may be overstated. May be overstated. Unmute yourself.
Shehzad, if a resistance like this kind of takes over, I mean, do you think there'll be resistance if this kind of a takeover starts happening? Because see, if Falero leaves Goa, he's going to take a bunch of people with him. Captain is going to take a bunch of people with him in Punjab. So,
Firstly, let's understand why this is happening. The Congress party, its natural state is to be in power. It's without power, it's a fish without water. Think about it. Ever since we got independence to 2014, barring a period of 6 years of Vajpayee rule, the Congress has one or the other way been in power, except for Morarji Desai, small tenure, and the other tenures were not very large tenures. So this is the first tenure, 2014 to 2021, where Congress and the Gandhi family particularly has been out of power and not close to coming to power in any foreseeable future. See the big states. States like Andhra Pradesh. Congress was a huge force in Andhra Pradesh. Today, its vote percentage is in single digits. Uttar Pradesh, single digits. Bihar, not very great. You go to the other bigger states, barring Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan, its Congress is completely evaporating. The problem is not just of the leadership anymore. The problem is of an existential nature for the Congress party to survive. And it is Neta, Niti and Niyat. All three are not working for the Congress party. Now, what will happen eventually is that the Congress will get cannibalized. Like the TMC is cannibalized it in Assam. It's already taken Sushmita Dev, who is going to now be their frontal face in Tripura because her father, I believe, was an MP from there. So she has been taken over by the TMC. The TMC is going to take a bunch of other Congress people. You already have Sharad Pawar making sounds कि ये तो पुरानी हवेली है, zamindar ki haveli hai, and they are in that mindset. So you're going to find people leaving the Congress party and going to these other parties, and eventually the Congress weakening even more. But the fundamental point is that what is the Congress doing about it? What can the Gandhi family do about it? Is the Gandhi family serious in actually introspecting where the false lie. These are some things that I don't think Gandhi family, particularly Rahul, is interested. Look at the manner in which he functions even today. He's taking all these big decisions in Punjab. He doesn't have actually any authority to do so. Technically, he is neither a general secretary nor the president. Why are people going and meeting him? He wants to call the shots. He doesn't want to take the accountability. He wants to drive the car, but he doesn't want to take, he doesn't want to take the blame for whatever goes wrong. Similarly, Priyanka too, she's not cut from any different cloth than Rahul. Make no mistake, she is as politically naive and immature as Rahul is. So, frankly, these two brothers and sisters, the best thing they can actually do for the Congress is step aside and allow somebody with some amount of hunger, passion, determination, staying power to take over. Now, what are they doing? Instead of allowing that, they're actually going the other way and taking people like Kanhaiya Kumar and Jignesh Mewani. Trust me, this is not. Some people in the media will say that, oh, look, the Congress is opening its door for youngsters. No, the reaction that I have got from the Congress people is the Bihar youth Congress people are telling me that boss, हमने इतने साल ये लेफ्टिस्ट से लड़ा, इतने साल हमने इनसे बीजेपी से लड़ा, और अब ये कन्हैया कुमार को ले आए. कन्हैया कौन सा चुनाव जीता है और कन्हैया कुमार हमारे सिर पर बैठेगा, तो हमारी कोई वैल्यू ही नहीं. So this is the feeling amongst even the youngsters who are there in the Congress. Why wouldn't you promote your own youngsters? Why do you need to get a Kanhaiya Kumar? What does he even add? Except for giving few good sound bites, which frankly, beyond a point, are repetitive. What does he add?
Unmute yourself.
Thanks, Professor. Tavleen, you have quite a few sources in the Congress. There's been some talk about the siblings not getting along. So is that gossip or being pulled in different directions? And their camps have been at it for a while. That has been doing the rounds for a bit. That their camps also don't get along with each other. Is there any truth to that, or is that just speculation?
I think it's purely speculation, but I know for a fact that as far as the sibling, both of them are concerned, that there will never be a time where Priyanka would come out, would not support him. That's obvious. So the whole idea of them not getting along is, I think, purely gossip. But yes, there are team members in their both their teams. Remember the whole. If you remember what Amrinder had also said, and many old leaders have said, that the problem is that their advisors are such that are not understanding the ground reality, and that is where the problem lies. That they are misguided. And because they have not, experienced politics like you should, they feel that this is how you need to do it. Forget anything. Now we are in an age of digital media. Social media is something that a lot of people pay a lot of attention to, right? But you see where the focus is. When you look at the Congress party, I am not saying that BJP is not doing that, but when you look at the Congress party, there is a certain drive, and there is a certain, what do I call it, ecosystem where they are paying a lot of attention on certain journalists, certain people who are always not talking, are talking about Congress's problem. We saw the protests that have taken place in Bombay here against a particular channel. Is that what you need to do to win an election? That's where your focus is. It really makes me wonder that what are you doing? You're a party where you need to accumulate and gather your strength and work on issues. You tell me one thing. If you ask a citizen, anyone right now, that what is it that the Congress will offer? Do you have a 5-point agenda right now? Can you remember, Advaita, Shehzad, Professor? I can't. I really can't. For a normal public, if you want to say that Congress will come to power, क्या करेंगे वो? मुझे एक चीज बताओ. आज अभी तक, even now, Rahul Gandhi is attacking. First of all, his attacks are completely random. I feel there is no direct laser focus as to that. He's still harping about he's still on the China problem, the Ladakh problem. He has full mean, by all means, please continue to do that. But remember what happened and how the Rafale attack backfired and how it did not resonate with anyone on the ground. So somewhere the strategy that they are doing, there is no coherent strategy. I feel that's missing. There's no transparency. I think the advisors are the people he really needs to look at. But at one point, I feel that advisors can also do so much. You see, after all, if you are the face and if you are the one who wants to lead, and like Shehzad said, you're leading without accountability, you need to know the ground reality too. If I can, just share one anecdote from someone, I can't say the name, but someone very close had once said that I'm sure people must be knowing this, that Rahul has a very different idea of politics, very different. It's something that not many people can understand, and he has a very inclusive, way of thinking and what he wants, where he wants to see India. And so he says that I will not do the harsh politics that we do on the ground. My way of doing stuff is completely different. I may be mocked, I may be laughed at, but that's how I do it. The problem is he's not willing to change that path, and which is why this sometimes he's active, sometimes he's holidaying, sometimes they go on the bandwagon of going after people, sometimes the focus goes back to China. Right now, Advaita, you tell me yourself, there are 100 issues that they have to attack the government with. Elections are around the corner. What are they doing? Do you when you read the papers, when you see their press conferences, it's on and off, right? There's no continuity. And remember, the when you have opposition, I mean, they're not in opposition right now, but when you have leaders like the BJP, when you have someone like Narendra Modi and Amit Shah who act rather than react, so you have to prepare yourself. You have to lead the debate, and that's what something I feel that Congress is missing. And this is not first year, second year. This is since 2014. And we are talking right now while the Congress might be thinking, oh, what do we do about Punjab? Slowly, slowly, I can bet that Narendra Modi and Amit Shah, the way they work, they're all set for 2024 and what they're going to bring in just before the elections. But that's what politics is, and if you want to be in power, that's the game you play. You can't blame them, and that's what people like. At least from what we've seen, the kind of numbers they get. And I feel that BJP is in a comfortable position, thinking that the opposition is such that they don't need to fight too much, even when right now there are so many issues that the government is falling back on. So like I always say, Gandhis are a problem for the Congress party, but that accountability will not come. When will he act? I will not even say Priyanka. It's solely Rahul Gandhi. And the fact that a lot of emphasis is given on Priyanka is also somewhere faltering, because now she was thrown out in the open to try and test waters, and very little came out of it.
No, no, I know. I mean, one of our viewers has helpfully informed me that Rahul Gandhi is an Aikido sensei. So I don't know, I mean, how helpful that's going to be in politics. But yeah, thank you, Mr. Nambiar, for contributing to our discussion. Yes, Professor, you want to say something?
Look, this Rahul's different politics, I think, is a bit much. I mean, on two occasions, the anti-CAA riots that took place and the farmers' agitation, these are all acts of anarchy in which Congress has been fully complicit, no doubt about it. And to say so his politics is different is something that I don't, it doesn't resonate with me at least. But the other thing is the following. If you look at Mamata, she was out of power for 15 years. Shehzad talked about the difficulty that the Congress has in staying out of power. You see, these are different times. You need persons with stamina. For 15 years, she kept on battering at the CPM's gates. She made so many mistakes. She learned from some mistakes. She did not learn from other mistakes. But she kept on battering till the CPM's mistakes and the fact that there has been a generational change that basically brought her in. She never let her flock dissipate. Her flock only grew, and at an opportune time, and that happened to be the Nondigram, etc., she struck while the iron is hot, and therefore she got through. So it's not as if she was a far greater strategist than the Gandhis. But again, she's made of sterner stuff. She is clearly not one person, not born with a spoon in her mouth. She has been a Congress foot soldier from the 70s. First a Chhatra Parishad activist, and then a Congress activist and MP. She's always been on the streets. This is something that the current Congress leadership, and I will include G23 and their children, do not want to do. They do not want to go out and work in the streets. Look, Sanjay Gandhi, for all his faults, and there were so many faults, but as a party activist, the manner in which he could basically mobilize the lumpen proletariat, you have to basically go out in the field to do so. Now, you don't, the question is, lumpen proletariat was mobilized, but you saw for the anti-CA riots and see what happened. But the question is, you need to enthuse
Or
party work.
the violence in West Bengal, or the
Huh?
post-poll violence, Professor,
Or the
in West Bengal.
post-poll violence in West Bengal. Look,
It's
that's a
a
very that's a very Congress thing, by the way. People forget what it was like under Siddhartha Shankar Rai from 72 to 77. They were violent years. That fellow could have been a bar at law from London, it's a barrister, etc. But when it came to political violence, people forget what West Bengal experienced from 72 to 77. So what Mamata is doing now is what she did when she was in Congress from 72 to 77. So the reign of terror that you see in Bengal, I mean, this is an aside, is very Congress-like, by the way. Bengal Congress-like. Bengal Congress has done this before. Another Bengal Congress, now headed by Mamata, is doing this. But when it comes to the thirst for power, when it comes to basically what you do to acquire power, in a sense, Mamata has it. She has great stamina. She's come to power now. She's come to power after leaving a party whose doyens had compromised with the CPM. She basically said, this is not going to work. She went out. She struck out on her own, first with
I
the
think that's not
NDA,
committed, yeah.
and she came in. That
Yeah, but
requires stamina. That requires commitment.
I mean, I was in West Bengal when she was like actually, fighting those years, and that had an emotive appeal. I don't know if she has that emotive appeal right now, because just what she's been doing and the violence that she's unleashed in West Bengal is something that maybe
Let us say,
outside, yeah,
the momentum of those emotions have a tendency to last. Okay,
yeah,
so even when the people don't vote against her, they don't really hate her. Look, a lot of people, in a sense, are grateful that she was able to topple the CPM. Look,
that's true.
remember the Congress, remember the West Bengal before 2007, 2008. Calcutta was a dark and dingy place. That is the Calcutta I left to come to Delhi. And when we came to Delhi, it was a liberating experience.
Right.
That is what the CPM had done, at least to industrial Bengal, destroyed and decimated industrial Bengal. So to get deliverance from that was a huge thing.
Right.
And a lot of people who may not
So
be TMC supporters.
Clearly, you feel Mamata is going to do it, and for whatever
She will
reason.
try. She will
But
try.
I think has something to say at this point. Let's just get Shehzad in also. Shehzad.
Look, I want to tell you what's wrong with the Congress party in 2 or 3 points. One, the Congress has become a reactionary party. There is no longer a Congress party that tells you what the agenda is and then works on that agenda. Rahul Gandhi has a huge Modi, I think, obsession. He should get some help about that. And I mean it in all seriousness, Advaita, because look, there are 2 ways of doing politics. One is that, of course, you have to fight Narendra Modi, but you get obsessed and you only react for the sake of reacting and you push yourself in a corner. Today,
Right.
Rahul has become far more left than even the left is. He's taking people like...
That's come up. Yeah.
The need of the hour was for the Congress perhaps to remain at the center or to look a little center-right, because the country has shifted rightwards. But here you have a man who is hell-bent in only because he's so obsessed with Narendra Modi, he's going full Monty left. That's not where the country is going. If there was a hunger for left politics, why would the left parties be reduced to the JNU Dhaba and Kerala? It wouldn't happen. So he's got that wrong. Now, secondly, Rahul Gandhi is consistently inconsistent. There is a difference. A politician should be adaptive, but being inconsistent is completely different from being adaptive. Adaptive means, look, जैसा माहौल है उसके हिसाब से मैं टेम्पर करके अपनी बातों को रखूं, मैं उस एजेंडे और इशू को उठाऊं. Maybe I don't agree with it completely, but you have to understand the sentiment and the pulse of the people and then do things that the people want to get out of you. But here is a man who will not even do what he feels is the right thing on a consistent basis. He will do it one day, and then he will not do it long enough to at least make people feel that bhaiya ye committed hai. At least he's committed on what he's saying. People don't take Rahul Gandhi as a committed politician. That's the worst thing for somebody to be. So these are things that won't change, and therefore, no matter what Rahul and Priyanka do, they're not even, it's no longer Tina factor also, that Modi will make his mistakes, BJP will make its mistakes, people will realize, oh shit, we need Congress back, Congress acha karegi. That era has passed, that cruise ship has sailed. It's no longer going to be a Tina factor. People are going to, I'm sorry?
I'm already being trolled by my viewers for supporting drug use. I didn't say that at all, by the way. Anyway.
Well, you said what you said, and you did say what you said. So point is, okay. Anyways, let's show some love to Advaita. Let's not be so harsh on her. Chat. She has an opinion, but having said that, the problem with Rahul Gandhi is that he should find something else to. If he really wants the Congress party to survive, if he really wants. If he genuinely wants the BJP and Mr. Modi to have a tough fight in 2024, he should first find something else to do. The longer he remains in Indian politics, the better. Trust me, 99.99% of Congress workers may perhaps not want Rahul Gandhi as president, but 99.99% of BJP workers surely want Rahul Gandhi. If they were ever called to a Congress party election, they will say, hands down, Rahul should be the Adhyaksh. I'm telling you.
Yeah, they all say that always. They're saying that's our biggest, he should never resign. He should always stay in politics. That's the biggest thing for BJP.
I want to ask you all this. A lot of people say it has more than power. It has a lot more to do with money and real estate and things like that. The Gandhis kind of staying on. So how do you kind of respond to that particular accusation? I'm asking all of you this, whoever wants to jump in.
Well, of course, it's their vested interest. You think the Gandhi family is driven by some noble intentions of making this country and everybody very great? And do you actually buy that? I mean, I don't think so. I never bought it.
I'm very scared of this session this time because I've been trolled right through it. So.
No, but of course it is. Of course, Rahul Gandhi and his family have several interests that they want to cater to, and that's why they want to be in a position of power. There's no mistake about that.
Can I come in on this?
Yeah, come in, Professor.
The thing is, in 91, when Sonia Gandhi decided not to take over the reins of power, one of the first things that the government did was to allot a sum of 100 crore rupees to the Rajiv Gandhi Foundation, which she promptly refused. You see.
Oh, okay.
Why am I talking about this? I'm talking about this because I believe even if they made a graceful exit and the Congress came to power, the Congress Prime Minister, whoever it is, will try to ensure that their financial interests are not hurt. So it just cannot be finance. Yes, there are lots of assets, etc., very dubious in nature. Their genesis, their provenance, you can talk about it all day. But the fact remains, neither this government has seriously tried to crack down on those, although there are court cases going on. In a sense, it's basically a courtesy you show to others. And even if the Congress came to power, the fact is nobody would actually touch these particular assets. It's basically Nazarana to Bahadur Shah Zafar, as Shehzad put it. I think it is the thirst for power. Finances are there. It's the thirst for power that this family, the centrality of this family, when it comes to this particular country, is unquestioned. Otherwise, what possessed Sonia Gandhi basically to come in? She could have said, okay, instead of Kesari taking over from Andhra and Narasimha Rao making a fool of himself, let Kesari live and let Narasimha Rao come back. She could have said that, or she could have chosen some other president. Why did she choose to come back? It's this thirst for power. I'm not too sure it's basically protection of our assets. I did not see the NDA from 98 to 2004 do anything to undermine that particular family or to ensure that they were in the docks because of some financial dealings. No, the NDA government, Atal Bihari Vajpayee, was very gracious when it came to the handling of this particular family. Of course, that grace, in a sense, was not repaid at all. I mean, they were very churlish about giving the Bharat Ratna to Atal Bihari Vajpayee. I mean, one of the most churlish incidents, although several of their allies, Farooq Abdullah, said that Vajpayee should be given a Bharat Ratna, they chose not to do so. But let's talk about,
there's a bit of a fact check, Professor, that's come in. One of our viewers has said that it wasn't that Sonia Gandhi refused that 100 crore grant. PV Narasimha Rao had to remove it from his budget because there was a lot of opposition to it from.
No, yeah, that's actually.
The fact is, the next day she protested. She said, "I never wanted this. This embarrasses me." I remember that. I remember those very clearly. It embarrasses me. There may have been other problems, but what I think is they were ready to they were ready to financially support this particular organization which does not belong to the government. Now let's come back to the other point that Shehzad raised, that building of a particular agenda and going, basically defining yourself vis-a-vis Modi. Whatever Modi does, you have to basically go against. But why do I blame him? A section of the media, large section of the media and his surrounding characters, what did they do? Look, one of the things that helped the BJP to come back to power is basically is a jam trinity. Aadhaar, UIDAI, Mudra, and the Jandhan. The backbone of this is the UIDAI. Who started this? This was basically started by given statutory powers, given the finances by the Congress, the UPA government. And what did they do? It was, of course, running very, very slowly. The moment Modi comes, he gives it a special thrust and ensures that it's completed on time. Because like the GST, this was also something that was always dancing but never advancing. So what does Modi do? He completes it on time and he uses it. And the moment he does so, you have people like Jacques Dresse saying, this is basically horrendous. This is basically a intrusion into our lives. You go to the court, you make false claims before the court based on dubious studies, which have now been refuted by the researchers themselves. So it's basically a section of the media, an ecosystem, which pushed him, encouraged him to do this. So when I'm talking about Rahul Gandhi, I'm not just talking about Rahul Gandhi. We are talking about a particular ecosystem out here, which is basically cancerous. It has a tendency
and Shehzad, I mean, this ecosystem is alive and well even 7 years after, and they have influence. They write in international publications. They're able to get their people together to protest and things like that. It's not going on.
But I don't. But see, they are not in power, so I don't think that will help them much. That at the end of the day, if you're not in power, then whatever you're doing is not working for you. And I think it's a common understanding that the only thing ailing the Congress party is Rahul Gandhi and unfortunately Priyanka Gandhi too, because a lot of expectations were from her. But I feel that junoon is missing in Rahul Gandhi, which is why that trying hard, it doesn't happen. You take examples. There's so many examples. People laugh and say that Modi's media. He's so obsessed with media. Har jagah jaake, like right now when he came back from that trip, from the US trip, he went to the parliament. But that resonates with people. That see, we have a prime minister, we have a head of state who's going and he's working 24/7. Even though if there is a section where some people feel that it's only for the cameras, but it's out there. I mean, you're not even able to bank on using your social media properly. You see the videos that he has done. If you remember, I don't know if you had seen it earlier. I had talked about this particular thing, that you're sitting in a drawing room and you're giving, you're doing your videos. Get out there. People want to see you out there. They want your leader to be with you. You don't want to be sitting in your, houses and doing videos. Rahul, all the videos that he's done, if I'm not wrong, when he's spoken and he's chatted with people, plus he's chatted with people who are outside our country. How does that make a difference to the people of our country. So I think the strategy is completely haywire. There is no focus. I will repeat myself that drive is missing, and that is where they need to work on whether they are really interested. It seems that they're not interested. Hence, the people say that even थोड़ी problem है बीजेपी के साथ, but there's no option. At least there's some work being done. So that's
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I don't think things will change, because if they had to, they would have changed, I think, after 2014 itself.
Shehzad, do you think Priyanka has also been written off, in the way Rahul has, or does she still have some sort of?
there's a Hindi में कहावत है, बंद मुट्ठी लाख की खुल गई तो खाक की. I think that was done when she exposed herself in the general elections, and what was a 50% reduction in the number of seats the Congress had in UP. And Bhaiya had to go to Wayanad, and this time too, you mark my words, my sources tell me Congress party will win one assembly seat in UP. One. Just one.
Which one?
Which one?
Maybe some 40-50% Muslim dominated seat. That's all. Just one. Less than 5% vote. Because what does the Congress represent to people? Just ask yourself this. Rahul Gandhi caters to certain vote banks because of all his rhetoric. He thinks he's catering to them and drawing them to him, right? But those vote banks are not moving from the parties they are committed to. He's not making inroads into them because those vote banks have identity connections and aspirational connections with the parties they're already committed to. So Rahul is not converting them with the rhetoric he's using. The only hope Rahul Gandhi had was to appeal to somebody who could understand his language, lingo, diction, the young people. But there Rahul Gandhi continues to be somebody nobody can associate with. Trust me, the younger lot of people, they should have focused on those people. They should have made consistent efforts there. But Rahul Gandhi is making no efforts there. Narendra Modi is a bigger draw amongst the 18 to 35 group than Rahul. And Modi is far old. I mean, he's at least, I think, 15 or 16, 17 years? 20 years.
20
older
years.
than Rahul, right? But how is it that 18 to 35-year-olds are feeling a better connect with Modi than with Rahul? So Rahul is chasing the wrong horse. And he's always been doing that in his politics. Frankly, the only thing he's consistently done is go the wrong way. And therefore, I can't mean it in a better way. People think that I like mocking Rahul Gandhi and I have a personal axe to grind. All of that aside, the best advice I could give him, if he ever were to take mine, and he should have, because it wouldn't have led to him becoming what he's become today. But having said that, the best advice he can take today from me is go. Just go. Just take your bags, leave it. Doesn't matter. तुझसे ना हो पाएगा मुन्ना, छोड़ दे तू. Nobody's going to judge you. I swear to God, I can't tell him that let at least Kejriwal try. Let somebody try. Tu ja.
Well, Professor, yes, please go ahead.
The talk on Rahul's ability, I think, is okay. We should. And the fact that he is not up to it, no point at all. But, let's come back to one part. I talked about even Amethi not being a bastion of the Gandhi family anymore. Why not? Because 70 years after independence, after these seats, the Raebareli, etc., were represented by the Nehru-Gandhi family, what are the indicators, development indicators of this particular place? That this family kept this particular region poor for 70 years is basically an indicative of how they took the country for granted. When you take a people for granted for such a long time, it seems nobody's heard what Lincoln said. You can't fool all the people for all the time. It is this lack of development, that particular mindset, which hasn't gone. And this is a feudal mindset, by the way. A feudal mindset believes that people are entitled to their support. They have to support me.
He hasn't gone back to Amethi after he lost. He hasn't been back.
Not only did he not go, he said North Indian voters are kuch nahi, South mein refreshing.
Yes, just imagine. He said North Indian voters, just imagine. Yeah. So the question is, India unfortunately has changed. People from UP go to other states and discover what is possible. So under those circumstances, you think if the same old politics is going to work, I think you are sadly and badly mistaken, and the family is finding that out.
And my final question, whoever wants to take it up, what's going to happen to the G23? You know, sometimes they come up, sometimes they vanish, then they emerge again. What's happening? What's going to happen?
I
Waiting
think
and
Tanvi
Anyone
watching.
should
wants
take that up.
No, they'll continue. I think.
sources
They're
say? Will
waiting and
they
watching.
leave? Will they join the BJP? I mean, can we see Kapil Sibal, moving to the
I
BJP
think
or
no, it's very difficult for someone like Kapil Sibal to join right now because of his his roots in the Congress. But like we always say, never say no in politics. You never know. But at this point of time, it's a wait and watch game as far as all the G23 is concerned. There are hectic parlays that are going on behind the scenes. There are strategies that are being made, but the main man in question is missing. So it's anybody's guess. But
If I
G23
could
will
say
be
in one line,
Huh,
I would
please.
wish the G23 less Gulam, more Azad.
No, to be fair, he has asked for a CWC meeting and he's received no response.
No, the
You know,
Surjewala did say we'll have a CWC, except he didn't give the time and date when they would do it. But the problem with the G23 is that uh, they are, in a sense, conscience keepers of the Congress at this point of time. They are dissenting and all of that.
yeah.
But not many of them are actually state satraps, the kind that would actually. So it's a battle between two punies. So that's the reality of the situation. Except for a Manish Tiwari or somebody else, one or two here and there, who can actually win an election somewhere.
ah,
I don't think most of them can. They just have the gap value and they'll speak a lot, and that will also do enough damage to the Congress party. But having said that, some of them, it's G22 now because one of them did actually join the BJP, Jitin Prasad. So yeah, some of
Yeah.
them might find a place in other parties. I think you'd be surprised by the number of people who may shift to TMC.
I think that's the big moves.
Yeah.
Those are the
Right.
moves you're going to see in the coming future very soon. Unfortunately for the Congress, I think more and more on that is going to happen. But thank you so much again for joining me for what has been a very interesting conversation. Thank you, Shehzad. Thank you, Tavleen. Thank you,
Thank
Professor.
you.
It's been a pleasure to have you all, and
Pleasure's all ours.
I hope I hope you all
I
come
hope the
back.
chat. I hope the chat doesn't give you too much hate. So
Oh God,
we'll show some love.
now they're asking me stuff like, what did Aryan consume? Charas, ganja, marijuana, hashish, cocaine, crystal meth. I mean, I don't know. I just said something generic that, that I don't think like users should be incarcerated. There should be interventions. They should go
You're
to
just
rehab.
making it worse. What the hell?
That's all.
Like that.
So now that I think I know what he consumed and what he's up to, I don't know. I have no idea. I'm not that connected in Bollywood. So, anyway, thank you so very much for joining
Thank
us
you.
this evening and hope to have you back soon. I think the week is going to continue being exciting. I just
Oh, yes.
don't feel like it's over as yet. I think Captain's going to announce his party next week and then
Of
there'll be
course, he's
So
going to
another.
announce
captain
his
also
party.
should, captain also should now know that you should not keep pulling it because after a point, people are going to start getting irritated. So he should now pipe down a bit. As in, he's already said so many things. Now, little bit, I think slowly, he should now take his steps because lot has been said. And see, the Congress's retort, if you remember the statement that they issued, was very aggressive. So I think captain
Yeah.
should also now hold on a bit.
Hmm.
So let's see. But
But
see, it's status quo
Tavleen,
as far as.
also the old kind of establishment Lutyens media, they're also turning a little anti-Congress now after the way the captain's been
Yeah.
treated, and
Yeah.
all of these things. Have you noticed that shift? That
Yeah.
that
There's
that
that
moving.
sense of attachment, no? There's that sense of
No,
attachment with certain journalists,
but
the
that
way
shift is
we cover
basically
political
sensing
parties. Yeah.
weakness. That sense is a shift, sensing of weakness and getting a new favorite. That new favorite already
Mamta.
has a representatives who talk to Latins media, the Mohua Moitro and Derek O'Brien types. So
Huh.
this is a media which is now hedging its bets between the upstart from West Bengal and Bahadur Shah
Huh.
Zafar. So the upstart of West Bengal makes a attempt for the throne and is successful. the Rajyabhishek, the Taj Poshi will take place with the full blessings of the Latins media. So don't worry
Yes,
about it.
absolutely. Yeah, because there is a shift to Mahua Moitra and Derek O'Brien, and
Yes,
sort
yes.
of amplifying all that they're saying
Oh,
in
yes.
whichever language they use. So
Yes.
yeah, one can see that happening. But once again, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, and
Take
hope
care.
to see you soon again. AIM is not here nowadays. By the way, he's not coming today. He was supposed to, but I'm answering the chats.
I hope he makes a quick comeback. But good night. Take care.